Did you just touch me? With those hands? You silly old woman, answer me honestly. Are you dense? Are you stupid? Or have you somehow managed to be both at the same time?
My daughter only said you should please lift your legs small so that I can reach that.
Did nobody brief you people this morning? Did nobody tell the cleaners of this house that the future madam was coming today? Look at the time. Is this the hour you are supposed to be crawling around scrubbing floors when an important guest is already seated? Or wait. Maybe you thought I would be one of those pick-me girls, that I would smile sweetly and collect that dirty rag from your hand and start mopping the floor with my silk. This silk costs more than you will see in 2 months, in case you were wondering. No, my daughter. Nobody expected you to clean anything at all. We knew you were coming. We just did not know you would arrive this early. I only needed a small space to finish the... And you touched me! You put those hands on my body. Hands that have been swimming inside dirty water since morning. You are sitting here smelling of the kitchen of pepper, heat, and crayfish, and you are touching people anyhow. Do me a favor. Go and bathe. Leave my sight before you rub that smell on my clothes. And hear me well. The day I marry Anthony, you will be the very first person I fire in this house. Write it down somewhere so you do not forget.
Cynthia settled back into the couch, crossed her legs, and returned to her phone, deeply satisfied with herself. In her own mind, she had just done what strong women do. She had put a cleaner in her place. But the woman who walked out of that living room carrying a bucket of dirty water was not a cleaner. And in exactly 5 minutes, Cynthia was going to find out who she had insulted in front of a full room in the worst way a human being can find anything out. I need you to settle in, because for you to understand how a whole engagement scattered in one single afternoon, I have to take you back to where this thing truly began. If you have ever attended a proper Nigerian wedding, then you already know it is not just a ceremony. It is a festival. The asoebi glowing in one matching color across 200 bodies. The geles tied so high they threatened the ceiling fans. The live band battling the DJ for control of the evening. Jollof rice moving through the crowd like currency. And in the middle of all of it, holding the microphone like a king holding his staff, is the MC. Every Nigerian wedding has that one MC whose only mission in life is to scatter the reception with entertainment. That afternoon, the MC looked out across the hall and announced a game. He would pick one bridesmaid and one groomsman, total strangers to each other, and they would compete as a pretend couple, dancing, answering questions about each other they could not possibly know, feeding each other small cake with their eyes closed while the hall screamed with laughter. His finger landed on Cynthia from the bridesmaid's train. From the groomsman, it landed on a tall, easy-smiling man named Anthony. Now, Cynthia was by every measure the eye can take a beautiful woman. Lagos girl, brand manager in a big firm, the kind of woman whose heels announced her before her perfume did. And when she stood up to join that game, she did what she always did in public. She performed. She danced just enough, laughed at the right volume, gave the perfect answers. The hall loved her. But Anthony was not watching the performance. Anthony was watching the small things. The way she straightened the little flower girl's dress without being asked, the way she covered her mouth when she laughed too hard as if her real laugh embarrassed her. By the time the game ended and the MC crowned them couple of the day, Anthony had already made up his mind to ask for her number. By the end of that night, he had it. Anthony was an engineer, gentle in the way that confident men can afford to be gentle. He drove a clean but ordinary car, wore clean but ordinary clothes, and if you met him on the road, you would never guess what kind of family stood behind him. That was deliberate. That was training. Because Anthony had one belief he repeated so often, his friends could finish the sentence.
The way a person treats somebody who can do nothing for them is the only truth I trust.
Cynthia, on the other hand, carried something inside her that she had never once examined. A habit, a quiet, automatic habit of measuring every human being she met and sorting them into 2 shelves, people who mattered and people who did not. To the people who mattered, Cynthia was sunshine itself, warm, generous, charming, thoughtful. But to the people on the other shelf, the waiters, the gatemen, the cleaners, the drivers, the market women, Cynthia had a different face entirely. Cold, sharp, impatient. She would snap her fingers at waiters like she was calling a dog. She once made a dispatch rider stand in the rain for 20 minutes because, in her words, he should have calculated the weather before accepting the job. And where did this thing come from? Because nobody is born like this. Cynthia grew up in a crowded face me I face you compound, 8 families sharing one corridor and one dream of escape. Her mother washed clothes and scrubbed floors for wealthy families on the island, and sometimes little Cynthia followed her to work and sat in the corner of those big cold kitchens, watching madams talk to her mother like she was furniture. She watched her mother say "yes ma" to insults. She watched her mother kneel. And somewhere in those years, Cynthia made a vow. She would climb so high that nobody would ever mistake her for the help. But the vow grew crooked inside her, because instead of climbing with compassion, she climbed with contempt. Every cleaner she saw became a mirror of the life she had escaped, and she could not look into that mirror without slapping it. She was not wicked to poor people despite her past. She was wicked to them because of it. And that is one of the saddest things a hard life can do to a person if that person is not careful. Anthony never saw this side of her, or rather, he almost did, twice. Once at a restaurant when Cynthia hissed at a waitress and Cynthia caught the small frown crossing his face. She immediately softened her voice, added a "please, dear," and even tipped the girl. Anthony relaxed. Another time, she called the estate gatesman an illiterate under her breath, and when Anthony asked what she said, she smiled and said, "I said he is so diligent." She was not just unkind, she was skilled at hiding it. And people who are skilled at hiding a thing always believe they will never be caught. 9 months passed. Anthony proposed on a quiet beach at sunset. No cameras, no crowd, just his heart in his hands. Cynthia said yes before he even finished the question. And for once, the tears in her eyes were completely real. Because here's the truth we must not skip. Cynthia genuinely loved this man. This was not a gold digger story. Her love was real. It was her character that was rotten in one corner, the way a beautiful house can be rotten in one hidden beam. And a house like that stands perfectly until the day weight lands on that exact spot. Then came the sentence that changes everything in a Nigerian relationship. "I want you to come and meet my family." Cynthia went to work like a general preparing for war. She researched, she planned, she bought a gift bowl of fruit so arranged it looked like art, imported teas, fresh flowers, and her master stroke, a set of expensive soothing oils and balms for her mother's knees, because Anthony had once mentioned that her mother's knees troubled her in cold weather. She rehearsed her greeting in the mirror, she chose an outfit that whispered wealth instead of shouting it, and makeup so soft it looked like she woke up blessed. Every detail was calculated to say one thing: I am the perfect daughter-in-law. But you see, that was exactly the problem. Cynthia was not preparing to meet a family, she was preparing to give a performance. And performances have one weakness: they only work when you know the audience has entered the room. The drive took them out of the city, into a quiet, leafy estate, where the houses sat back from the road like elders who did not need to shout. Anthony's family compound was large but not loud. Old trees, a wide veranda, the kind of home that money builds when money has learned some humility. They had barely parked when the gateman hurried over, speaking quickly. Something about a delivery truck for his mother's bakery blocking the neighbor's gate. Drivers arguing, a matter that needed a son's voice. Anthony squeezed Cynthia's hand.
5 minutes, my love, I promise. Go inside, the door is open, make yourself comfortable in the living room. I will come and get everyone once I settle this.
And so Cynthia walked into that house alone, 58 minutes early because she had insisted they beat traffic, carrying her flowers and her fruit and her oils for a woman whose face she had never seen. Their living room was wide and cool, and it smelled faintly of something delicious traveling from the kitchen. And there, in the middle of the floor, was an elderly woman on her hands and knees, scrubbing a stubborn spot with a cloth, a bucket beside her, her wrapper tied simply, her grey hair caught under a scarf. Cynthia looked at her for exactly 1 second, and in that 1 second, her mind did what it always did. It sorted. Old woman, on the floor, holding a rag, does not matter. She did not greet her. Understand what I am telling you. In an African home where greeting an elder is the very first commandment, Cynthia crossed that living room, stepped around the woman like she was stepping around a piece of furniture, and settled herself on the biggest couch. She arranged her gifts beside her like trophies waiting for their ceremony. The woman on the floor paused. She looked up at this young visitor and she wondered, honestly wondered, whether the girl simply had not seen her. It happens. Eyes miss things. Then Cynthia, without looking up from her phone, waved one hand vaguely at the room and said, "Where is the remote for this TV?" And just like that, the woman had her answer. The girl had seen her perfectly. The woman pointed quietly to the side table, said nothing more, dipped her cloth and continued her work, moving slowly across the floor, drawing closer and closer to the couch where Cynthia now sat with earphones in, scrolling, a queen in a palace she had already claimed. Until the woman reached the spot directly beneath her feet and gently, politely tapped her ankle. You already know what happened next because you were there at the beginning of this story. The insults, the promise, the day I marry Anthony, you will be the first person I fire in this house. The woman left. Cynthia scrolled on, at perfect peace. Minutes later, the front door opened and Anthony breezed in, apologizing, kissing her forehead, squeezing her shoulder. "Sorry, my love, all settled. Give me one moment, let me gather everybody. They have been waiting for this day, honestly. My mother especially. I have told her so much about you." "Take your time, baby," Cynthia sang, glowing. She checked her makeup in her phone camera, straightened the flowers, positioned the fruit bowl, and arranged her face into its warmest, most daughterly smile. Now, hold on. Before I show you what walked into that living room next, let me ask you something, and I want honest answers in the comments. Have you ever watched somebody disrespect a person, not knowing who that person really was? Maybe it was in a banking hall, at a market, in an office. If you have seen it with your own two eyes, type "I can relate" in the comments right now and tell me where you're watching from, because I love seeing how far this family stretches across the world. And if you are enjoying this story, do me one small favor. Tap that subscribe button. It is free, it takes 2 seconds, and it pushes this channel one precious step closer to our 1,000 subscribers goal. Now back to that living room, because footsteps are coming down the corridor. They came in together, a small, warm procession. Anthony began introducing. The tall, older man with Anthony's exact smile, that was the father. The young man in his 20s, that was Timmy, the last born. The woman close to Cynthia's age with kind eyes was Simi, Anthony's sister. Cynthia rose to her feet, flowers in one arm, gift bowl balanced beautifully, smile at full power, greeting flowing like honey. "And this," Anthony said, his voice swelling with a pride you could touch as one more person stepped through the doorway, "this is the most important woman in my life, the one who built everything you see around you with her own 2 hands, my mother, Moreni." Cynthia turned, glowing, and looked straight into the face of the elderly woman she had insulted, abused, and promised to fire 7 minutes ago on that very floor. The flowers nearly slipped from her arm. The blood left her face so fast she felt cold in a warm room. Her heart did not sink. It dropped, whole and heavy, straight to the bottom of her stomach. Because the woman standing before her had changed her wrapper and removed her scarf, but the eyes were the same eyes, calm, steady, still quietly holding everything they had written down.
"Mommy," Anthony beamed. "This is Cynthia." Silence. 1 second. 2. Cynthia's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The smile was still stamped on her face, but it had died there, frozen like a photograph of a smile. Simi laughed lightly, trying to melt the strange air. "Ah, Cynthia, relax. We're not interviewing you. Mommy, hope you are not scrubbing that your floor when she came in. Wait." She looked between them. "Have you two met already?" "Yes," Moreni said. Her voice was soft, level, terribly, terribly calm. "We have met." She let those words sit in the room. Then she turned her steady eyes fully onto Cynthia.
My daughter, Moreni said, would you like to be the one to tell everybody how we met, or should I? And that, my people, was the moment Cynthia's legs gave up their duty. She sat down without deciding to sit. The fruit bowl tilted. 2 oranges rolled slowly across the floor, across the very spot Moreni had been scrubbing, and nobody moved to pick them. Cynthia looked at Anthony, at his open, confused, still hoping face, and the tears came before any words could. I am sorry, she whispered. Ma, I am so sorry. I didn't know it was you. You thought I was the cleaner, Moreni finished for her, gently. Yes, you made that very clear. Mommy, what is going on? Anthony's voice had gone quiet in a way Cynthia had never heard. Somebody should tell me what is happening. Cynthia, why are you crying? So Moreni told them. She did not shout. She did not perform. She stood in the center of her own living room and recounted it the way a witness recounts an accident, plainly, exactly, sparing nothing and adding nothing. The entrance with no greeting, the demand for the remote, all of it. With every sentence, the room grew colder. Timmy stared at the floor. Simi covered her mouth. The father closed his eyes slowly, like a man watching something precious fall from a shelf. And Anthony just looked at Cynthia. And Cynthia watched something switch off behind his eyes, quietly, like a light going out in a distant window. Anthony, please, she reached for his hand. Please, I bought oils for her knees. See, You bought oils, Anthony said slowly, for the knees of a woman you insulted while she was kneeling. There was nothing anywhere in this world for her to say to that. Get your things, he said finally, and his voice was not cruel, which somehow made it worse. It was just finished. I'm taking you home. The drive back to the city was the longest, quietest journey of Cynthia's entire life. 50 minutes, not one word, just the road, the engine, and the sound of her own performance lying in pieces around her feet. When he stopped at her gate, she tried once more.
Anthony.
I always told you the way a person treats somebody who can do nothing for them is the only truth I trust. Today I finally met you, Cynthia. 9 months, and I met you today.
She stood at her gate and watched his car disappear, holding flowers for a woman who never received them. Let me pause here because I know some of you have strong opinions right now. Was Anthony right to end it on the spot, or should he have heard her out first? And Moreni exposing everything in front of the whole family, was that justice or was it too much? Some of you will say Cynthia deserved every second of it. Some of you will say everybody deserves one chance to fail. Drop your verdict in the comments. Let me see whose side you are on, because I promise you, the comment section of this story is about to become a courtroom.
The days that followed were grey ones on both sides of that city. Cynthia did not go to work for 3 days. She sat in her beautiful apartment surrounded by beautiful things, and for the first time in her adult life, she looked at herself without the mirror's help, and what she saw shook her. Because it was not one bad afternoon, it was years. The waitresses, the gateman, the dispatch rider in the rain, face after face scrolled through her memory, all the people she had sorted onto the shelf of those who did not matter. And behind all of them, at the very back, one more face. Her own mother, kneeling on a rich woman's floor, saying yes ma to an insult. Cynthia had spent her whole life running from that kneeling woman, and in her running, she had become the very madam who once made her mother kneel. She had not escaped that cold kitchen, she had simply changed positions inside it. That realization broke her properly. And I will tell you something for free, my friend. That kind of breaking, the kind that happens quietly, alone, with no audience to perform for, that is the only kind that ever really changes a person. Anthony was not doing much better. He grieved like a man at a funeral because in a way, he was at one. The woman he planned to marry had never existed. He had loved a performance and the show had closed. His family gave him space, Only Moreni watched him closely, saying little, thinking much. Then, on the 9th day, Cynthia's phone rang, an unknown number. Cynthia, that calm, level voice. This is Moreni. I would like you to come and see me. Come tomorrow. Come alone. Cynthia did not sleep that night, and the next morning, she did something small that meant everything. She did not curl her hair. She did not select an outfit that whispered wealth. She did not buy a single gift. She wore a plain dress and her plain face, and she went to that house exactly as she was, because she finally understood that the performance was the disease, and she was done taking that medicine. Moreni received her on the veranda. 2 chairs, 1 pot of tea, no ceremony. Cynthia did not even sit before the words started pouring. The apology, the tears, the story of the compound, her mother's knees on strangers' floors, the vow that grew crooked, all of it out in the open air for the first time in her life. Moreni listened to every word without interrupting. When it was finished, she poured the tea and she spoke. I scrub that floor myself every morning, she said. Not because we have no help. We have help, and I pay them well. And I know all their children's names. I scrub it because this house fed me when I had nothing. And I believe the house that feeds you deserves the touch of your own 2 hands. My children think it is just my mother's stubbornness. She smiled faintly. But it has another use. A floor like that shows me the truth of everyone who walks in. You cannot imagine what people reveal to an old woman holding a rag. She set down the teapot and looked at Cynthia directly. Now hear me. I do not believe in judging a whole human being by one afternoon of rotten behavior. If God judged me by my worst hour, where would I be today? So I forgive you, Cynthia. Truly, carry that with you. Cynthia's tears came again, but Moreni raised one finger gently and continued. But forgiving is not forgetting, and it is certainly not blindness. You wish to enter my family. My family is my life's work, more than my bakery and more than this house. So understand what happens now. I have forgiven the girl who insulted me, but the woman who marries my son must be someone I have watched with my own eyes over time when she believes nobody important is looking. Character is not proven in apologies, my daughter. It is proven in a change of heart and actions, ordinary, unwatched actions. And that is exactly what happened. There was no dramatic reconciliation the next week. Anthony forgave Cynthia when she came to him with the same bare, giftless honesty. But forgiveness reopened a door. It did not carry her through it. They began again, slowly, from the beginning, with his family's eyes quietly open. And the ordinary day came, and Cynthia met them as a changed woman, not a performing one. She learned the gateman's name, Sule, and his daughter's name too. The waitress, the driver, the woman selling fabric, she took that shelf down entirely and burned the wood. Not to win Anthony back, that is the part you must not miss. She did it because she had finally seen herself, and she could not unsee it. 11 months later, on a cool Saturday morning, Simi walked into the living room and stopped short at what she saw. Her mother on the floor scrubbing the stubborn spot near the couch. And beside her, wrapper tied, knees on the same floor, sleeves rolled, scrubbing the other half, was Cynthia. The 2 women were laughing about something. Nobody had asked her. Nobody was watching. She simply had not been able to sit on that couch when an old woman knelt. Not ever again. Moreni caught Simi's eye over Cynthia's bowed head, and she gave one small, satisfied nod. The watching was over.
They married in December, and at the reception, when the MC called for a game with a bridesmaid and a groomsman, Anthony and Cynthia laughed harder than anybody in that hall for reasons the MC would never know. So what is the lesson in all of this? Because there is always a lesson if we are humble enough to collect it. Respect costs you absolutely nothing, but the lack of it can cost you everything you have ever prayed for. Cynthia did not nearly lose Anthony because she was not beautiful enough, or successful enough, or prepared enough. She had the oils, the flowers, the silk, the perfect words. She nearly lost everything over the one thing money cannot buy and performance cannot fake. the way she treated a person she believed was beneath her. Because hear this and hold it. You never truly know who is in the room. The old woman with the rag may own the house. The gate man may be the chief's brother. The quiet person you dismissed may hold the keys to your entire future. But honestly, my friend, even that is not the real lesson. The real lesson is that it should not matter who they are. Greet the cleaner the same way you would greet the owner, not because the cleaner might secretly be the owner, but because respect is never supposed to be a currency you spend only on important people. Character is who you are when you believe the person in front of you can do nothing for you. Everything else is just makeup, and makeup, no matter how expensive, always washes off in the end. And one more thing, quietly, for somebody who needs it. If life once made you kneel, do not let the pain of it turn you into the very person who made you kneel. Break the chain. Do not become another link inside it. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the very end of this story. It means more than you know. If this story touched something in you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. And if you have not yet joined this family, please tap that subscribe button right now. We are hoping to reach 1,000 subscribers. And you, yes you, watching me at this exact moment, you can be the very one who carries us over that line. It costs nothing, it takes 2 seconds, and it tells me you want more stories like this one. And do not go anywhere yet, because there is another story waiting for you right now on your screen. Another tale of hidden identities, quiet elders, and lessons that arrive at exactly the right time. Go ahead and tap on it. I promise you, it is worth every single minute. I will see you there.